What's going on, everyone? Welcome to a Wednesday edition of Back Your Play with Q. As always, I'm your host, Rich Quinones. Tons of NBA to get into. As always, get social with us at Rich Q on Q, IG, Twitter, and of course the channel Rich Q on Q. You guys have been fantastic, and every Saturday 9 to 9:30 on Delmarva 14.1. All right, we got our guy, our NBA insider Jonathan Marshall, kind enough to join us. Which, I was thinking about this as we were kind of texting, going back and forth. We always like to dive into these games, and we know the NBA season is starting to pick up, but then you get the bombshell, the news, the report of Ja Morant, and you get these reports out there, Jonathan, couple games suspension, he's going to be out a little longer, the NBA is going to step in. Your reaction, well, first and foremost, I always appreciate you jumping on for a couple moments of BYP, but your reaction when you hear something like this, where this kid's a star in the league, but is he going to be that cautionary tale that we're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, so I actually lived in Memphis. I was there when Ja first got drafted, and It was just so exciting. This ultra super, this talented guard out of Murray State, and the energy that he brought back to that city, to that franchise. This was post grit and grind era, right? So they were looking for that bridge to what's the next situation for this franchise, and getting Ja Morant was such a huge boost to where they're honestly they were ahead of schedule when it comes to just post grit and grind era. And so to see what he was able to do rookie season, make his name, and then all of a sudden Memphis is a viable candidate for a Western Conference contender, right? And so much has changed with this franchise in so little time, it seems, from like that up and coming lovable franchise to now, obviously the Ja Morant situation and everything else that's going on with that franchise. So, to me, seeing the latest situation, seeing the gun on the social media post, that was alarming. We saw stuff before that, right? But it's like, okay, we don't know all the facts. We don't know. But to see that, for me, number one, as personally, if I know what the news is talking about and what the conversation is around me, I have to have more self-awareness, right? I'm not going to go on social media and just have that out there. That's just, to me, that's a lack of awareness of yourself and what's going on around, right? I guess we can call it tone deaf, right?
Yeah.
Not reading the room and what's going on, because, that's only going to add fuel to the fire. And so to me, I looked at it like, this isn't about basketball for Ja right now. This is about your life and those around you. I don't know who you're around. I can't speak to that, but the energy that you put out is what you attract, right? And so I can't speak to it because I don't know, but I hope he has the right people around him to really speak some wisdom into his life, because he has it all right now. A city behind him, a franchise that's willing to pay him this max dollars, Nike, right? Like, he is a face of this league, of the face of a city. And to see him almost throw it all away is very disheartening. And so it's not over for him yet. I feel like this is a fork in the road for him, right? Like, you get a chance to pause.
Right.
Thankfully, you haven't gotten into too deep trouble, right? Like, nobody's gotten hurt. Like, it's just to where it's so far gone, right? Like, you have a chance to pause whatever you have to work through. You have supports. You have a support system. The NBA, they're going to do what they have to do investigation-wise. Whatever comes down, you handle that. But this is a time to really reflect on your life and what you want to be and where you see this going forward. Because he's so young. He's not even 25 yet.
But he's not a kid, though.
He's not a kid. No, he's not.
And I get very tired of hearing, well, these young guys, they make all this money. We know, man, guys come out of the woodwork. And I also think there's this element of sometimes you want to play the part, right? Yeah. You want to play the part, and you want to display, or, the perception about me is I'm streetwise and I'm street tough and I'm street. And it's like, well, if I convey something else, people are going to think I'm soft, and that's just, and you mentioned, people around him, maybe he doesn't have the right people around him. And when you think about it, just the carelessness of what he did. Now, the NBA is going to do their due diligence. They're going to vet, they're going to investigate. They can suspend him. They can fine him $1 million, which is a drop in a hat. But can you imagine now if Adam Silver decides, look, when you look at everything that's transpired in the world of sports, when you start to talk about the violence, and again, I'm not trying to go on a tangent here, but domestic abuse, domestic violence, years ago with Gilbert Arenas with the gun. I mean, there's been a lot of stuff that has transpired over the last 15, 20 plus years in the NBA with this. And then you look at the CBA, you look at the contract. What if they turn around and they hit this kid with a 50-something plus suspension, or they suspend him for an entire season? Now, all of a sudden, you've let down who? The owner that pays you, the franchise that signed you, the fans that support you, and the players that are there for you. So I think there's more to it. And I'm not saying you're saying it, but where, hopefully this is, I don't know if it's going to be an isolated incident, right? Because have we not heard stories? Have we not seen reports about off the court issues with him? And I think maybe someone does need to pull him to the side and say, you're not that guy.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't play the part.
Yeah.
You're not that guy.
Yeah. I mean, you're a millionaire. You play a sport for a living.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that. People would dream to be in your shoes. Like, it's okay. like, it's just, anytime I see these stories, it's just disheartening. It's like, man, you have such a great opportunity right here to change the lives of yourself, but the lives of your family,
Generational
your friends.
wealth.
Yeah, like generational wealth. Like, you're only 23. Just think of how, if you keep going on this trajectory, if you keep stay out of trouble, where is your life going to be 10 years from now, right? Like, you just have so much in front of you. And he has the city of Memphis. I know this for a fact. They still support him. That franchise is still supporting him. But Ja has to look at Ja, right? Nobody can want it for him. Nobody can force him to change, right? He could be getting good advice, and sometimes you just can't. It's the old saying: lead a person to the well, right?
You can't force them to drink it. Yep.
So you can talk all day, but at a certain point, the person has to want that change, right? And that's internally, right? And so he has to analyze his life and where he's at and who he wants to be. Do you want to be Ja, the face of a franchise, the face of a corporation, the face of Nike, the family man, right? The friend, the son, or do you want to be Ja showing guns on Instagram, just recklessly? Which lifestyle? You can't play in both lanes. You can't, because if you do, it's going to collide. That's just
Correct.
what it is.
And one of them might not end well for you or someone else.
Exactly.
And then you think about from a basketball standpoint, look, the Western Conference is basically top heavy with one team, Denver.
Yeah.
And then you go down Sacramento, Memphis, Phoenix, Dallas, Golden State, Minnesota. 2 games, 3-4 games separate these two teams. So let's just say there's an extended absence here where now all of a sudden, whoa, forget about the 2 games. Now the commissioner steps in. You're suspended for the rest of the season, including the playoffs. I mean, that derails.
That's their season.
Yeah, it derails the season, does it not?
That's it. If you take away Ja, I mean, they've done a good job of developing those guys and building a solid foundation, but Ja is what keeps that going, right? You take Ja out of the equation, who's that guy when we need him to give us a bucket? Who is that guy that we can rely on to ignite the crowd and bring that energy? And you take Ja out, the season's derailed. Not even a question. They can forget about it.
Yeah.
And so I can imagine this front office. I mean, you think about it, the Ja situation, Brandon Clark is out for the year with an injury. Dylan Brooks got suspended. This past weekend for the Grizzlies was insane. Like, probably the worst weekend in franchise history with just off the court news.
But to your point, and again, last night, right? You get Anthony Davis has the big game for the Lakers. They win 112-103. There's no Morant, Ja Morant. You mentioned the injuries, but that is my point where if you've just given him X amount of dollars and he does something like this, then you almost start to have that buyer's remorse. Did we make a mistake with this kid? Did we miss something pre-draft? Were there red flags we didn't see? Should we have listened to the scouting director that we let go a couple years ago? You know what I'm saying?
It's difficult because, you see Ja's statement, you see what the team is saying. We don't know what the issue is, right? It's very just cryptic. Like, what does he need? Like, what is he dealing with? We don't know, right? Eventually, I'm sure it'll come out. We don't have to know at this moment. That's his business to handle, but we really don't know what the issue is. Like, what is he dealing with? And up until this point, it's just conjecture and hearsay. We really don't know what it is exactly does Ja need help with. We don't know what that is. Like, people have theories. You don't want to speculate, but whatever he needs help with for the sake of his life and those around him, I hope he gets that help because he's a talent. He has a chance to be special and to carry this franchise into levels that they've never seen. And so it's disheartening, though, to see where it's led now. I didn't see this coming, honestly, just seeing him his rookie year and the excitement, that the energy that it brought and what this team was over the last couple of years, like, could have never seen this happen, like never, because during my, like, I never heard of any, I didn't hear any stories about Ja. I didn't see anything, like, just, I don't know what happened. I really don't know.
If it comes out later today or tomorrow, the next day, that he is suspended for the rest of the season, do you take a step back and say, okay, it's justified, it's warranted?
The league rules are the league rules.
The NBA wants star players on the floor. The NBA wants series to go 6-7 games. The NBA wants certain markets, certain teams to be in the playoffs when it comes to broadcasting because of the revenue dollars and the advertising.
Right.
But to your point, you know, you got to dive into the morals of the contract and the CBA. And, you know, I pulled it up real quick. So apparently it's Article 35D. The commissioner shall have the power to suspend for a definite or indefinite period, or to impose a fine not exceeding 1 million, or inflict both such suspension and fine upon any person in his opinion shall have been guilty of conduct prejudicial or detrimental to the association. And in that, they mention firearms and other weapons. So
there you go. So, I mean, the league rules are the league rules. And so if that's what's in the CBA, it is what it is. If you have been found, look, I guess if a player has firearms on a team plane, right, or a team facilities, right, then that's what it is. That's just, you can't do that. You just can't.
Or in a locker room.
In a locker room, right. Gilbert Arenas was tripping. So that's just what it is. Like, it's justified because that's what is in the CBA. That's what has been agreed upon.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Like,
all right, look at the Eastern Conference, right? Bucks get the win. 76ers get a win. The Nets get a win. Where am I going with this? And then you got the Knicks. And listen, it was a great run. I'm a little surprised they spit the bid. I think it's just a tired team, but they trip up against Charlotte. But I still love what we're seeing with Brunson. I still love what I'm seeing with Randolph, the acquisition of Hart. You know, you've got the Knicks right there, 5th seed, Cleveland, the Sixers, Boston, Milwaukee. I feel as though, as much as we kind of top loaded and talked about Milwaukee and Boston, we don't trust the 76ers.
Yeah.
Brooklyn quietly now has slipped into the 6th seed.
Yeah.
We know the reputation of the Knicks over the last several years come playoff time, right? It's been fast and few that they've advanced, right? I mean, it's been quick stops. Miami they've got some depth and talent, and they obviously with Hero and Butler. I'm starting to scale back it's going to be Milwaukee and Boston now. I think you might get that, you know, that Cleveland shocking somebody. I don't believe the Nets will do it because there's no Kyrie and Durant, but it shows that it's a great head coaching job by Vaughn, right? If they were to potentially win a playoff.
Oh, for sure.
Miami's an X factor because you still have Butler. That almost leads me to the 76ers, where we've gone back and forth and we don't trust the coach. We don't trust the team. We don't trust the majority of the players, but at the end of the day, they still have the big man and the X factor. Is it starting to shape out where maybe the windows creaked and cracked back open where the Sixers can kind of slither in and perhaps get to the Eastern Conference Finals?
We're doing it again, Q. They're reeling us back in. I can feel it. I can feel it happening. Yep. You know, you beat Milwaukee, you played Boston tough. Listen, this team has the talent to make the Eastern Conference Finals. And once you're there, anything can happen, right? It's just the reason why I give Milwaukee and Boston that edge, because I've actually seen them do it.
Sure.
I've
Tangible.
seen Giannis lead a team to a championship. I've seen the Celtics go through the gauntlet of the Eastern Conference last year, game sevens. You know, they've done it. I've seen that happen. With the Sixers, it's just been second round and bust. Like, it's hard for me to put them over Milwaukee and Boston right now because I haven't seen that. They have to prove it to me. Like, to go through a whole playoff run and make that championship level, it takes a lot mentally, physically, right? And there's a mental toughness, there's attention to details, there's just a physical availability, reliability that I've seen with Milwaukee and Boston that I just haven't seen with Philly when it matters most. Now, it gives me encouragement to say, like, I trust this team. I think this year's team is better than last year's team. James Harden now has a full year with the Sixers, with Embiid. Embiid is still playing at an MVP level. Tyrese Maxey's finally in the starting lineup, as he should have been this whole time. He's playing well. It's just the mental edge that I see Milwaukee and Boston have that gives me pause, right? It's more than just, okay, these are the guys I have on paper. There's more to it. There's attention to detail that I have yet to see from Philly in the crucial moments in a 7-game series. And so they're a better team than last year. Yes, they could easily make an Eastern Conference Finals run. I just have to see it. Like, it's just a constant dilemma with Philly. Like, I have to see it. The talent has never been the question. We've never questioned the talent. The consistency, the reliability, the mental edge, the attention to detail. These are the little things that I don't doubt with Milwaukee. For some reason, I just don't.
Yeah.
And Philly is just, it's always that but they're looking good lately.
No, they are. Listen, I wanted to close with this because I know you're a hoops head like I am. You're a guy, you watch everything, you listen, you read. Did you see the segment on First Take the other day? With JJ Redick and Perkins? And, you know, first of all, kudos to JJ Redick because he's basically going after the mouth that feeds him, right? He's going after, you know, I should say the hand that feeds him. You know, I get what Perkins was saying when he brought up Nash, Joker, and Dirk, but skin color aside, they were worthy of the MVP. So I think what happens is when you make those types of assertions that, you know, the voting is you know, the racist or racial bias against Black players. I mean, was that the case when Michael Jordan was, you know, winning MVPs every year, or LeBron or Kareem or Matt? I mean, you're going to tell me that Bird was not worthy of the MVPs that he was winning? So when you hear something like that, when you see that type of exchange, you're a hoops guy, man. You live and breathe it. Do you kind of sit back and say, all right, hold on a second, this is a little.
It's. I was talking to all my friends. It's just the conversation, the basketball discourse as a whole has just gotten to a point where it's like, do y'all even enjoy the game?
They don't. Right? They want to be right.
They want to be right. They want to have their hot takes. Just enjoy it. Like, why do you have to attack one person to raise up another? Right. And that's what I dislike. I think it started with Kendrick Perkins saying that Jokic stat pads.
Right.
Which, watching Denver Nuggets games, everything the Joker does is critical to how they play. Like, he's the main focal point, getting those guys involved, passing the rock, getting these guys open looks. He's just great at it. Like, you know, and Embiid is great as well. It's funny. I feel like Jokic is more deserving of the MVP. I thought Embiid was, personally, I would have voted Embiid. I think Joker is more deserving of it this year than last year, personally.
Why is that?
What Denver has done consistently, he's been amazing.
Yeah.
And I feel like Embiid last year deserved it.
Yeah.
Joker, to me, is even more deserving compared to last year. So that's where I fall in line with it. But the stat padding conversation, it's just, I don't agree with it. I think what Jokic does is crucial to his team winning. Like, I don't.
But let me ask you a question. You're 100% on board. I'm in agreement. But then it's funny because I can actually boost your argument and say, well, the other night Giannis decides to throw it off the backboard to try to get a cheapy triple double.
They took it away.
And they took it away. So what if you're down 25 and Westbrook's got to shoot his 36 shots and he's getting the triple doubles back in the day? And that can go for any player, whether it's Nash or Dirk or whomever. So totally agree with you. Like, this is the NBA. They want the game to go up and down the floor. They don't want 88, 87. They don't want Knicks, Pacers, Knicks, Bulls, Heat, Pacers, Heat, Knicks. They don't want that. They want the game to be wide open. And by the way, now I also think there's this element still of, these European players now are starting to take over the league. So what?
Right.
It's a fun product to watch. Like, to your point, why does everyone always have to be right? Just, it's like the quarterback, Brady, just enjoy it.
And there's a lot of great players in the league, individual talent. Like, it's just so hard. Like, Giannis has a claim to be MVP this year, right? Like, Embiid definitely does. Like,
Embiid does.
It's all about your preference. How do you gauge it? Last year, to me, it was Embiid. This year, what I've seen from Denver, I think they've reached a whole nother level.
Yeah.
That's why I think Jokic has an even bigger case this year than last year. And so, it's just, I don't like to just tearing down one man just to bring up another. You know what I mean? Like, and I love Embiid's game. You know that.
Of course.
And I feel like he did deserve the MVP last year. But I would never say Jokic is stat padding. I wouldn't say that. I mean, he's a 7-footer. He's going to get his rebounds, right? He's a talented guy who can score in any way possible, right? And he's a great passer.
Yeah.
He's going to get his assists.
Yep.
Like, what do you want him to do? Like, he's a focal point of that team.
Yeah. Agree.
It's going to happen.
but this is where we're at. It's just, you have to be the loudest. You've got to scream because that means my opinion is the right one. And that's not the case. But I think bringing race into debates is a lazy ass argument.
Yeah.
It's a soft and weak argument, right? Because we can go down the line and you can pull up players over the history of the NBA and you can either really dive into their numbers, or you can dive into their numbers and appreciate what they were doing, or you can just look at their numbers on face value and say, oh, well, you know what, this guy's stat padding, or this guy's just shooting 36 times a game, or, well, how many times do we see a guy throw it off the backboard to get that cheapy rebound to get the triple double? And they do that 8 times a year and they got 8 triple. It's just goofy, man. It is. And to your point, I do believe because of the influx of European players too, the whole notion that the European player, remember years ago, what did everyone say about the European player? They were soft.
Oh, yeah.
They were soft. You're going to tell me these guys we're seeing now are soft? You're going to tell me that Dirk Nowitzki was soft?
Dirk was a problem. Dirk was a problem.
Right. Because why? Because I'm 6'10" or 7 feet and I can shoot it from 12 feet out. Yeah. And I can play both ends of the floor. I mean, that's talent. Right. So no, I definitely agree. I agree with everything you're saying. It's well said. All right. I won't hold you. Always appreciate a couple moments. The Ja Morant thing, I'm telling you right now, do not be shocked if, the one thing, even though Adam Silver is a quote progressive commissioner, if this would, rest in peace, David Stern, he'd be suspended for the whole season.
Oh, it wouldn't be any question.
I mean,
Stern didn't play.
Yeah. As soon as the video was live, statement from the NBA.
Right.
That's it. I don't know if there's going to be wiggle room with Silver because he's got a little commission him, right? With Goodell. He wants to protect the image of the league. And this is see, the problem now you have is right away, you see an NBA player, an African-American NBA player, an African-American NBA player wave a gun. And then someone's going to sit there and say, see, this is why I can't watch the NBA.
Yeah.
This kid's a punk. This kid's a thug. And that's not fair to the rest of the league. No. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it'll be interesting to see. Nobody knows what's going to happen, but I mentioned this could derail their season depending on which way this goes.
Oh yeah.
It would be very unfortunate because they were a top 2 team and now they're sliding now. And the longer Ja is out, the more crucial things become for them.
And you start now all of a sudden 2-3 losses in a row become 7 out of 8.
Phoenix is on the rise. Yep.
and you're on the outside looking in, and that's where the trust factor, right?
Yeah.
Can I trust this kid going forward?
Yeah.
Is he my foxhole brother? Is he going to be there for me for 70 something odd games in the playoffs? He's going to be able to stay out of trouble, get rid of that clique, get rid of that group.
Yeah.
So it's yet to be seen. So, all right, brother, I always appreciate a couple moments. How's the weather cracking up there?
It's a sunny, balmy 40 degrees.
I saw the sun sneaking.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day. I might, kick my feet up on the balcony, yeah. Get some fresh air.
Yeah, fresh air is good. We all need some fresh air. So, all right, Jonathan, always kind enough to join us on this edition of BYP. We'll talk next week, pal. Always appreciate you.
All right, Q.